Welcome to the Football Show on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. If you want to join the football family, don't forget to subscribe to our channel on YouTube. And if you download the app, you'll get all the breaking news at your fingertips. I'm Peter Martin, Alison McConnell, Tam McManus, and a new guest we've got on the show with us today, Alan Ruff, who formerly played for Partick Thistle, Hibs and Scotland, just in case some of you have forgotten all about him. Are you sure your holiday's over now? Is that everything?
Yes, that's it. That's it, done. This was visiting my relation holiday, so I had to go on this one, but don't have anything penciled in at all.
Okay, that's
Till October.
So, Ali, that's exactly what I was thinking. Listen, we've got lots to talk about, and thank you very much for joining us on the live feed. We'll read out some of your messages. And of course, don't forget you can watch the Football Show Monday, Wednesday and Friday at your leisure at any time across YouTube. And thank you to everyone who joined us for the Old Firm reaction. We're going to be talking Celtic too good for Rangers. Liverpool win the Battle of the Reds. Aberdeen's run hits 9 in a row. The Dons are going crazy. And Naismith's in the firing line at Hearts. Lots to talk about there. Before we start looking at what happened over the weekend, I think the football world was rocked by the sad passing of Saul Bamba at only 39 years of age. Tam, you were lucky enough to play with him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was. I was at Dunfermline with him. I've got great memories of Saul. I thought he was not only a terrific football player, but just a great guy. You know, a big smile could light up a room. My abiding memory of Saul is Scottish Cup semi-final replay against Hibs at Hampden. Jim McIntyre, I think, scored a last-minute penalty dink to goalkeeper, and Saul was outstanding that night. And I remember being in Carbon in Glasgow after it with the whole Dunfermline team, and the big man was up in the tables with his club tie around his head and dancing away. So I'm absolutely devastated, and I hope he rests in peace.
Yeah, absolutely well said. And I think from everyone on the Football Show, our condolences, of course, thoughts and prayers to his family and friends at this very sad time. Saul Bamba, who sadly passed away at the age of just 39. Here's the results from the weekend's football in the Scottish Premiership. Ross County 0, Aberdeen 1. It was the late show with Nisbet scoring the winner. Dundee 2, St Mirren 2. Some cracking goals in that match to talk about. St Johnstone 1, Motherwell 2. Craig Levein far from happy. We'll hear from him. Hearts 0, Dundee United 1. Hearts fans far from happy. And Stevie Naismith under pressure. Kilmarnock 1, Hibs 1. We'll hear from Tam on how Hibs should have won by 7 goals to 0. And Celtic 3, Rangers 0 in the big one on the Sunday. So let's cut to the chase. Celtic 3, Rangers 0. In the early moments of the match, Ruffy, there was a goal for Celtic which was chalked offside, but the writing was on the wall from there on in, and Celtic just pummeled Rangers.
Yeah, we said the only chance that Rangers would have would be early on in the game to press Celtic, because I know they like to build up for the back. They did that for 10 minutes. I mean, I don't know where Clement's coming from saying they could have 2 goals. The Dessers one was offside, you know, and he fluffed his shot anyway. Matondo could have done better with his header, but after that, it was one-way traffic, and it was how many. And I know Clement came out and said we had as many shots at goal or on target than them, but for every chance that I saw that Rangers had, Celtic had 2. You know,
yeah.
And it could have been a lot heavier than 3.
Yeah, you know, once they got their noses in front, Ali, they just... some people thought they took their foot off the gas at one point, but 3 is still a convincing win.
Yeah, I thought it was very convincing. I think there was a point just towards the end of the first half where you could sense the panic within Rangers. I think when it had gone to 2-0, had Celtic got a third before the break, I just think it could have gone anywhere. You could feel it within the stadium. You could also feel it. It's palpable within the Rangers team just how much the heads had gone down. I think Rio Hatate had a glorious chance the second period. Kyogo going through and went for the audacious chip. Could have had another chance. I thought Celtic were very, very dominant. Maybe Rangers, I think, offered a bit in the first 10 minutes, but you have to have more than that. You're never winning a game of that magnitude on a 10-minute showing. You have to be able to go for the entirety of the 90 minutes and then some. And I just thought there was a significant chasm in quality between the two teams.
Yeah, we'll digest and dissect most of it, Tam, but your overview?
Yeah, I just concur with what the guys have said there. I think that Celtic were superb. I thought the first 10 minutes Rangers started well. You know, they pressed Celtic high. They created a couple of opportunities. I think probably both of them were offside if they'd scored. But they started well. But once Celtic had that goal, which would have been a fantastic goal, just called off, just marginally offside, I think Celtic totally dominated the game. Rangers were desperate for half-time, 2-0. I think if Celtic would have got the third before half-time, it could have been any score in the second half. And Rangers just look miles away. They're miles away from Celtic at the minute. I think they should be concentrating on the other teams. I think they should be concentrating in second place. I think Celtic will win the league in a canter. I mean, you look at Rangers since they got back into the top flight 2016. They've won one league, one Scottish Cup and one League Cup. They've won 3 trophies in 8 years, major trophies. I think St Johnstone have won 2. So are they becoming a team that just wins a trophy every now and again? That's what it looks like to me at the minute.
Here's what Brendan Rodgers had to say on the overview of the game. Happy, obviously. The speed in our game was exceptional. We had 3 and maybe could have had a few more. We go into every game with humility that we have to work. We're in a really good place, but it's so early in the season. There is much more growth to come. And I think that's the key and the worrying aspect for a lot of people, Ruffy, is the starting 11 wasn't even a team that included any of the major signings.
No, and I was critical of Celtic. I think it was last year, the year before that, they had players on the bench that were coming on and been very, very good for the team overall. They would take maybe 3 or 4 off and 3 or 4 would come on. I didn't think that was the case last year. I think Brendan Rodgers has rectified that this year. You saw the players, as you've said there, that have come on a bit of quality, you know, and so whoever's coming off later on in the game, whether it's 70 minutes, 75 minutes, the team are going to have to deal with some quality coming on even for the last 15 minutes.
Yeah, Philippe, Clement was fairly philosophical at the end of the game. This is what the Rangers manager had to say. We started the best of the 2 teams. In the first 10 to 12 minutes, we should have scored 1 or 2 goals. There is not one fan more demanding than me about results and wanting to win. I think if today you score the first goal, it's a totally different game. And at this point, I think a number of Rangers fans are possibly looking at his comments and saying, you know, you can't. We talked about it yesterday, Ali and myself, on the immediate reaction after the game. I don't think you can keep selling the positives when you don't get the overall result.
Yeah, listen, the fans are no daft. That's why they're outside Ibrox, you know, giving abuse to the players. That's why, you know, they're giving abuse to the board. You know, they know that Celtic are miles ahead, and you can dress it out whatever way you want, Peter. If Rangers would have scored first, I think Celtic had gears to go up. I think Celtic won 3-0 and really cruised the game. I think they have got levels to go up. They've got £30 million sitting on the bench waiting to come on. You know, you look at the subs that Celtic were bringing on and the players that Rangers were bringing on, and the gulf is huge. So I don't think that's going to fool any of the Rangers supporters. I think that's 5 games against Celtic. I don't think he's won any. 4 defeats and a draw. And until he can prove that he can beat Celtic, Peter, they're not going to get anywhere near Celtic in terms of toppling them domestically.
Yeah, here's what some Rangers fans had to say today. Yeah, just a quick listen, Ruffy, to what some of the Rangers fans had to say today.
I don't really know what to think of that, to be honest. It's not the best to see. It obviously isn't really what you'd want to happen at a team, but sometimes it does take something like that to happen to change what's going on. Because, I mean, obviously I dislike Celtic, but in the COVID season when they were doing bad, they had protests, and how did that work out for them? They obviously changed the next season, went and won a double, and the season after that won a treble and got Ange Postecoglou, who's now at Spurs, and they are the dominant force in Scotland by far, probably the fastest been since before Gerrard. So I mean, how did that work out for them?
I've seen that. I don't agree with that. I mean, getting annoyed at the manager, yeah, everybody gets annoyed at the manager sometimes, but showing up at Ibrox when they've just finished an away game isn't exactly the best. Doesn't show good form for Rangers fans, to be honest with you, but each to their own, I suppose.
Yeah, just a couple of Rangers fans there offering their insight into it. Again, Ruffy, I will offer this as a form of balance on the overall. The result's never easy to take. There is always a backlash after a defeat in a game of this magnitude, especially so early in the season. But we are now, 3-4 weeks into the season where suddenly the John Bennett the chairman has said, look, there needs to be a long-term strategy instead of this short-termism. That thinking has to change. They announced the extension of Philippe Clement's contract. The manager himself says they're going to bring in younger players, they're going to change, they're going to offload a lot of the deadwood, which they have managed to do successfully. I do think there is a kind of an erratic reaction so soon after it. Maybe because of the manner of the defeat, but there needs to be a bit of calm to suggest, listen, he needs to be able to build this. And if this season is painful and Celtic win the league, you just have to hope that by sticking by him, his plan eventually bears fruit.
Yeah, I think they've got to stick by him. There's no doubt about that. The only thing I would give him a bit of leeway in, he has got players that have still got to come in, maybe 4 or 5 players, but until they come in and he's got a settled team and they start winning games comfortably, then he'll still be under pressure. Now, the Rangers fans, you know, in the other day there he was talking about, we'll be better come January. January's a long time away. You go to play Hibs and Hearts and Aberdeen away from home sometime, and if you lose these games, you know, then you're going to come in really increased pressure coming up to that Celtic game. So he needs to get these players back in that he's talking about. He needs to get a settled team, because at this moment in time I don't think he knows who he wants to put on the park. I don't know who he wants to start games, because there's people getting 45 minutes and then getting hauled off as if, well, I've made a mistake there. So I don't think he knows his best 11 by far.
Is it fair to say that, Ali, on the basis that, you know, he's brought in a few players that he'll want to obviously blood? He's got players coming back. Maybe in the next 4 or 5 weeks, once he gets settled, he's got an international break, maybe once he's got the injuries back and the players that he's brought in, maybe he will have a settled team in his mind, because, again, Ruffy's making observations there, but he's had to clear out a lot of deadwood. He's had to clear out a number of players that just wasted Rangers' time. I mean, Cantwell was just a waste of money.
Yeah, he's had to clear out players, and also at the same time he's had to bring the wage level down. So you're offloading players like Connor Goldson, who would have been one of the highest, if not the highest earner at the club, to bring the wage bill down, and then you're having to go out and source players that can come into that position, but on less wages, on less money, and that's not an easy thing to do. But also I think it can be very difficult to find a settled starting 11 when it's not going well. Now, you qualify that by saying last week they beat St Johnstone 6-0, but if you go back to the opening weeks of the season, they draw against Hearts, kind of sticky performance against St Johnstone in the cup game. It's not been entirely fluent. Then you get a game like, you know, against Ross County where it clicks and you've got goals, and then you come up against Celtic and you know, it hits the buffers again. I think
doesn't
it
help
can
when the
be.
manager says it was a fabulous performance against Ross County.
Yeah, I think there's a
Rangers fans are
naivety.
thinking,
I think maybe that showcases someone coming in who is not part of the fabric of Scottish football culture. When you come from an outside position and you come in and you say, well, hang on a wee minute, last weekend's our best result for 4 years or whatever it was. The fact is that he will be judged on how he copes with Celtic, on his ability to get the measure of Celtic, and until he does that, he will have a huge question mark hanging over him. Even if you're winning other games, you have to be able to go toe-to-toe with your biggest rivals and get a tune out your own team. And I think what the frustration will be for a lot of Rangers fans yesterday was that there is no evidence of this project, that there's no evidence there that you can see, well, there are improvements, there are lessons learned. How many times have Rangers conceded that first goal against Celtic across recent seasons?
Yeah, and listen, I am offering as much balance as possible on, first of all, the fallout from the Rangers camp, which again is loud, and some of their pundits, you would think, have been right over the top on what they've been watching on this one, and don't seem to be very sympathetic towards what Philippe Clement's trying to do. PJB is obviously not happy with what I'm saying. He says it's Espanyol Glasgow. We got what was expected, an absolute doing. Peter is trying to deflect from a shambles of a football club on and off the park. Celtic are light years ahead. I don't think anybody's disagreeing with that. And again, to offer that balance, on the flip side of it all, if Celtic were a stuttering team that marched towards the title last season, from the start of this season, pre-season, and the team that's been playing without the new signings, they've been like a well-oiled machine, Tam. I mean, Celtic they've been absolutely flawless.
Yeah, and I think you can see what Celtic are trying to do. I think with Rangers, you don't see it, Peter. You don't see what they're trying to achieve with pressing. They done it for 10 minutes and then Celtic played through it, found a way to play through them. The energy, the hunger that Celtic have got is unbelievable, and that's the difference, Peter. I mean, I know Chris Boy spoke about it yesterday. You know, I think Celtic make things happen, Rangers hope for things to happen, and I think he's got a point there. I think that when Celtic lost the ball, I think Maeda in the 92nd minute made about an 80-yard run to close someone down. Kyogo done it as well. You don't see Rangers players doing that, Peter, and that's nothing to do with ability. That's just hunger and desire and fitness and wanting to do it. Rangers, you see some of their players just jogging back at 3-0. So I think the Rangers supporters are looking at that and going, we can accept being outclassed in terms of quality, but in terms of work rate, Celtic outworked them off the ball as well. You can see Celtic, every time they lost the ball, they were like, a pack of hounds going to get it back. Rangers didn't do that. So, listen, I think that if you're a Rangers supporter, you're scratching your head. Where do you go from here this morning? I think it's going to get worse before it gets better, Peter, for Rangers.
Yeah, I didn't expect anything different going into the game, Ruffy. I thought Celtic would win it. The fact that they won it comfortably, and again, as Tam mentioned there, the desire, the hunger, the fluency to their play, the manner of the goals, albeit, if you look at the goals themselves, I mean, the one was chalked off. The next minute, the first goal is similar to numerous goals that Celtic have scored against Rangers, which is somebody makes a mistake, they get into the byline, they cut it back, Tavernier's sleeping at the back, and in pops a Celtic player to score.
Yeah, if you're doing a pre-analysis of the game on the Friday before it, you'll be showing a video. Like, here's what happened the last time we played Celtic. Here's how we lost this goal, and they're all similar. So you must go out onto the training ground and stop that happening, but they don't seem to have done that. They don't seem to have grasped, and I don't think they can. I think it's because Celtic play so fast when they get players, and Callum McGregor again was instrumental in everything that he'd done.
What did you make of the second goal? Because I thought the keeper's positioning was poor, did you?
No, I thought that I have to give marks to Kyogo. I didn't expect Kyogo to hit it when he hit it. He just hadn't set himself for him hitting it that far out. I think he probably thought he's going to advance a wee bit, 5-6 yards, and then he's going to hit it. So he took him by surprise, and he just positioned was just wrong. Yeah,
and of course, Tam, McGregor just continues to work off these Duracell batteries. I mean, suddenly he decides to, retire from international football. And as Ian Crocker rightfully pointed out, he's got 3 goals in goal of the month, never mind goal of the season.
Yep, 3 goals in 3 games. I don't think he's ever done that in his career. I think Hatate being back in the team is huge for him. I think Hatate does a lot of running for him. Callum can go and just sit in front of the back two and go and dictate the game. I think bar the first 10 minutes he cruised through the game. He dictated the game. I thought Bernardo was really good as well. And I think when you look at the competition for places now for Celtic, I think when you look at Scales, again, probably his best performance for me in a Celtic jersey. Greg Taylor, they know that the boy Trusty's sitting there 6 million. Scales has got to play well every week or else he's out the team. Taylor, he's got the lad Valley, from Barcelona sitting on the bench. He's got to play well. Kyogo's the same. He's got a £9 million guy sitting on the bench. Engels is ready to come in. So there's real competition for places at Celtic, and you've got to put performances in every single week to stay in the team, and I don't think that's the case with Rangers.
OK, here's another point, Ruffy, which I wonder, before we talk about obviously the fact that everybody in a democracy has a right to complain if they're not happy with the setup, the structure, a government, a team, a manager. We've all got that right. Whether there's a right to be abusive towards players and the manager, I'm not so sure I like that. I think fair play to Philippe, Clement, and I think Balogun actually stepped up to try and reason with a number of angry Rangers fans. But I certainly don't like to see any fans abusing players when they're coming out of coming off a bus or coming out of a dressing room.
No, you're right. I mean, as players ourselves, you don't like it to see it. Sometimes you might escape it, but your teammates not escaping it. They pick on certain players. Every fan has maybe a player they don't particularly like, and they're the ones that get it. So it's a collective thing. and it's horrible to see. You know, I just think the people that do it, you know, I'm not saying they're not real supporters of the club, but they shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah, the other point here, Tam, which I think is something that Rangers have shot themselves in the foot with, and I feel so strongly about it, and I'm going to point it out until such times as it changes, but this is something which I think you two as players can comment on, which is you don't have any fans there. So the game for me is sterile. It's a brilliant game. It was built on, okay, there's negative elements that Ali and I have discussed yesterday, which is it's built on a poisoned element, a historic element of religion, which is not nice to see. But when the two of them are at it, and there's huge amounts of fans of each side in it, that's what made it such an unbelievable spectacle. It's now sterile because, quite simply, what you have is one team that has no away fans. They can't react. They don't get that feeling of 7,000 fans saying, come on, that's not good enough, booing, or cheering when they've suddenly scored a goal and lifting them. That's gone from the game. And that, I think, has come back to bite Rangers big time.
I don't agree with you, Peter. I don't agree with you. I think that Celtic go to Ibrox and there's no away fans and go and win. Why should Rangers not be able to do it?
Well, they haven't got a good enough team.
I know,
but I think somewhere along the line you have to have a reaction, Tam. You have to have someone shouting and saying it's not good enough.
I get what you're saying.
They're in there and they're absolutely surrounded by 60,000 Celtic fans. There is no feedback for them.
I get what you're saying. Listen, I want the away support in there, but I can remember playing in Edinburgh Derby at Tynecastle with a full stand and we get hammered 5-1. I don't think it makes a...
I'm not saying it's an absolute definitive. I'm saying it's an element of it that is lost to the game.
No, it's definitely lost in the game. Listen, we want to see away supporters there. And if you're shooting into your own fans, probably you get a lift, you get a corner, you can hear the support. I get where you're coming from, but I don't think it would particularly have affected the game yesterday if Rangers had 7,000 fans there.
I think it might have affected a few to get their finger out, Ruffy. 7,000 fans shouting. Kyogo runs back 60 yards. What does he get? He gets a standing ovation from 60,000 people who actually react to him and say, by the way, you've run 60 yards. We absolutely see what you've just done. And they go mental. If you see that and you've got 7,000 fans there who can see you putting the effort in, sometimes it can lift you.
It's the only thing a wee bit with Clement again, he said, I think we all agree the first goal's important in the games. I think the first goal's important. And the first goal's even more important if you get 7,000 of your supporters there. Because your 7,000 supporters are going to raise the roof, the players are going to lift themselves and they're going to hopefully not lose any more goals. But from that aspect, yes, I think it would lift the whole team. I just think the way it's going now is the clubs are just looking after their own supporters.
Yeah.
There's 7,000 more Celtic supporters in that game.
And by the way,
Rangers will do the same as well.
By the way, Rafi, I'm not saying for a minute that it's a definitive. I'm saying it's an element of it that I think can play a part. It's not something that dramatically changes it, Alison, because, there are situations where, as Tam rightly points out, Celtic can go to Ibrox and silence 50,000 Rangers fans. I absolutely get that. But there's an element of what used to be the spectacle, what used to drive certain individual players, either in a positive or a negative sense, happened when you had a huge amount of your support there to let you know how they feel.
Yeah, I would agree with you to an extent. I also think the game is better for having away fans in, but I would think, I take your point of what you're saying, however, for that to happen, you need something to energise a support. There needs to be something that you can get behind, something that you can get enthused by, even if it is a 60-yard run, or even sometimes if it's a throw-in that you're winning, you need something that you can sense a spark of, to get excited about and to get behind the team. And sometimes when that doesn't happen, I think supporters become very quiet. I think sometimes they become mute. Now, the same is true. So for the likes of Celtic going to Ibrox and winning, what happens is if Celtic are dominant in that fixture, it goes very quiet. The stadium goes very quiet. It can work against you too.
Yeah.
I do take your point about what you're saying.
I mean, Ali McCoy said, Ali,
you need to
yesterday,
have...
What do you make of McCoy's comments on it? He said that, maybe they can't handle the pressure of it at times, because when it was the pandemic,
I think there's definitely an element of that. We spoke about that that whole season. We spoke about that. I don't think there was any doubt that not having supporters in was a huge factor in how that season played out.
Hugh Scott, who's a Rangers fan, and listen, Hugh, I am there to be shot down. It's just an opinion that I want to see a huge amount of fans back from either side. And he says, Peter, I can't agree with you about the lack of fans. The players pulling on the Rangers jersey should be inspiration enough. If it's not, then they are at the wrong club, I'm afraid.
Well, and I've said that. I've said that about both of the teams. You know, Celtic and Rangers, when they go through a bad spell, there's certain individuals on the park can't handle what's getting thrown at them during the game. You know, they can't handle the pressure for a start. I mean, me and Tam just played with relatively smaller clubs, Hibs. You know, and it must be different. 60,000 people, if things aren't going particularly well, and you're being singled out as, or two players in the team are singled out as the players who are no pulling their weight, you know, that affects. That's just a natural thing, you know, how can you handle it? And there's a lot of players, I've said this on numerous occasions, come for other teams to Rangers, and all of a sudden, I mean, we've had Rangers players on. I think wee Barry said the first Old Firm he played in, the first 25 minutes, he was like, where am I? You know, what's happening here? So
yeah.
The individual's got to be able to handle the bad side of it as well as the good side of it. I mean, when you're winning all the time, and I'm not picking on the boy Cantwell, when he's in a team and they're winning 3 or 4-0, he's a star. But when they're not winning, he's not the star. You know, and that's when you sort of look at players and you go, well, he can handle this. You know, he's the player I want in my team. I don't think Rangers have got that player yet. I mean, they're bringing players in from all over the place. And I'm sure a lot of them will be caught in the headlights as well, you know, with that kind of thing, because they're coming for teams that have probably just got maybe 20, 25, 30,000. So they've now got to get their heads round when we're winning, it's great, but when you're not winning, you've got to collectively get together. 2
quick points. I want to put one to you, Tam, but I want to go back to you on goalkeepers, because you've discussed Jack Butland with the Kyogo goal. What did you make of Schmeichel? Because he only had 2 real saves to make in the game from about 74 minutes onwards. What did you make of him?
Yeah, I thought the save at the end, I think it was McCausland, I think it was, he spread himself well, and I've said this on numerous occasions, when you play with Rangers and Celtic, not in particularly that game, in most games you're called upon to make a save. And any goalkeeper will tell you, I mean, you look at all the goals at the weekend, a lot of good goalkeeping performances, goalkeepers having 4 saves, 5 saves, 6 saves. It's the one save that turns a game. And these games, big games, you have to have the ability to make that save. And Butland has that. Obviously, it never worked for him the other day there, but he had 2 or 3 other saves that could have made Celtic winning 5-0.
Yeah, and Tam, as we have digested the match and how it all played out, you hang on every word from the managers. And Philippe Clement, indignant, you know, when asked the question on the gap, no, we will see in January. And his argument is, once he gets the players that he wants in that 11 that he wants to put out in the park, once Celtic come to Ibrox, it'll be a different kettle of fish.
Yeah, I don't agree with that, Peter. I think that I think he's signed a lot of players. I mean, I don't know how many he's going to sign in January as well. He's got to bed them in, I get that, but I think when you look at the game yesterday, you look at the strength of the squads, I think come January, Celtic could be 10, 15 points ahead of Rangers. And that's, and the league's gone. So I think he's trying to stay upbeat, he's trying to stay positive, you know, but we said at the start of the show, until he can prove he can beat Celtic in a big game head to head, Celtic are just going to continue to dominate the league.
Yeah, and the other positive that I think we have to mention, Ali, is quite simply the performance of Celtic in the game. They break quick. They were fluent. We already mentioned the fact that it was the starting 11 that didn't contain any of the main players that have been signed. I think a lot of Celtic fans will be looking at it and saying to themselves, this looks really good. They're playing really well. It's football that they wanted to see last season. Now Brendan's got his teeth into the team. They just looked mega impressive in that game.
Yeah, I thought they were very dominant. I thought they looked fluent. I thought they looked significantly well ahead of anything that Rangers had to offer. I think there was always a sense that they could go up another level. They had players to come on to come in and improve the team, as I think you'll expect now to see over the next couple of weeks. You'll see players coming in to the team. You'll see Celtic get stronger again, and I always think when you get off to a very confident start in the league, that it just sets a tone immediately, that you just have this very early impression. And I think that first game can be so critical. That first meeting of the two teams is so critical to the outcome. I can't remember the stat off the top of my head, but invariably the team that wins that first meeting of the season goes on and wins the league. I think the one in recent memory that bucked it was Ange Postecoglou's first season, but that first game just sets a tone. And if you were to draw a conclusion from yesterday and an early impression, is that this is a Celtic team that are way in front of anything that's on offer competitively, domestically. Europe will be another test. That will be another area of judgment when you start to go into the Champions League later this month. But in a domestic sense, I don't think you can see anyone that's living with Celtic this season.
Yeah, I don't think too many people will disagree with you. If anything, Ruffy, Europe is, for me, the test of why Brendan was brought back. I think there's no doubt in my mind he's the best coach in the country. He has the best team and the best players. Europe is where I think his ultimate test will come, because in the games that they've played so far, I'm thinking to myself, I don't think anybody's going to lay a glove on them. It's whether he can balance the squad he has that he'll play in some games domestically, and then the squad that he really wants to play in the European games to try and get some kind of credibility.
Yeah, that will be the big test. And again, we all know that they're better than everybody else here, but there was still glimpses the other day there that Rangers were getting chances, and chances that better teams will take, and I think that's going to be the test for them. We love teams going forward and going forward and going forward, but sometimes you're going to be backs to the wall, sometimes you've got to defend properly. I hope Celtic have learnt their lesson for the last couple of years. I hope they can defend when they go to games away from home, and they need to, if they score, they can sit in and see a game out. And until that happens in Europe, then the decision on judging them will still be there, because they haven't done it for 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, they're already 5 points ahead, which I think is worrying for Rangers fans. Peter King has just sent us a message, and I'll read it out just on the basis that obviously when you get a game like this, everybody wants to analyse everything. Peter King says, Peter, I knew you wouldn't mention the VAR decision. I thought he was offside.
For Kyogo's goal? I thought he was just offside. It's a pity. It was a fantastic move from Celtic. The split, Rangers right through the middle, and it was a great cutback. I thought he was just offside, Peter.
I thought
which is why VAR's there.
An ankle thing. I thought this was a new VAR thing.
Well, be if Arsene Wenger gets his, if that rule comes in with any parts.
It's going to be a
chop a goal off like that because somebody's hand's in there.
No, it wasn't his hand. It was I think it was his foot. You can't be offside with your hand. It was his foot.
Yeah,
I think his knee or his foot was marginally. I know.
And there was other games in the weekend as well.
Exactly. Same again.
There was other games as well. Where you go, what a good goal. What a great goal. I think it was the boy. I think it was the Ross County one in particular. I thought it was Brophy broke forward and squared it, and it was a good goal, and then that gets taken away from you, and you go, why?
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, we're not going to disagree with you. Kenny Merchant says, just offside, correct decision. So with that in mind, you can give us your view on the big game. You can go onto our website and download our app, and you'll get all the analysis and interviews with fans, reaction from it as well. Thank you to so many of you for your support over the weekend, and give us your opinion. We try and read out as many of your messages as possible, providing of course they are decent. That's the great thing about this game. You can get just unbelievably over the top once it gets to the end of it. I mean, you know what it's like, Ruffy. It's absolutely crazy. From a position of Rangers suddenly saying, this is a long-term project. You get people calling for the manager's head and abuse towards James Tavernier and questioning every aspect of it, and then you get Celtic fans just looking and thinking, what an incredible day. I mean, they even had one of the Hollywood movie stars. I always think it's one of those days where everybody spends half their time looking to see who's in the stand as well, Ruffy.
Yeah, the German boy, I can't, is Weiss his name or something like that?
Was he on James Bond? No?
Yeah, he was. He was a James Bond laddie,
It was an even better one with Brad Pitt, the German one.
Yeah, you just want to do that so you can swear on the programme, isn't it?
I thought he was very good in that.
Yeah.
And he was very good in the one...
Django Unchanged. Yeah, well done, Ruffy.
He was excellent.
Well done, Ruffy. You managed to, I know, Ali. I know exactly where you're going in your head. Anyway, Ruffy likes these. Christopher Waltz. Thank you, Don Clark in Derry. You're absolutely right. That's Christopher Waltz. That's the game. The managers have offered their opinion. The fans have offered their opinion. Celtic are 5 points clear. We are going to talk about a team that had a set of fans that were able to swear in one of their songs, Ruffy. The Aberdeen fans have come up with a really sharp one-verse song, which I'll tell you about right after the news headlines.
Welcome to your Daily News Headlines, brought to you by Arnold Clark. I'm Patrick, and here's your top stories on the 2nd of September. It ended 3-0 to Celtic yesterday in the first Old Firm derby of the season. Goals for Maeda, Kyogo and Callum McGregor sealed all 3 points for Brendan Rodgers' side. Back here at Ibrox, the Rangers players returned and they were confronted by the Rangers fans who had a few choice words for their players. In other news, Hearts, they fell to a 9th consecutive game without a victory in their 1-0 defeat against Dundee United yesterday. According to Stephen Naismith, a few of his players are still needing time to adapt to the Scottish Premiership.
I think the newer players are still adapting, but, and some of our players are low in confidence in making. I think in general we're picking too many safe passes.
And it ended 1-1 yesterday between Kilmarnock and Hibernian thanks to a last-minute penalty by Bruce Anderson. Speaking after the game, the Hibs boss David Gray says the international break has come at the right time for his players.
And I think the break comes at a really good time. You know, with the new bodies coming in, time to gel, time to get new ideas into them, the squad starting to know each other a bit more. That's 11 signings, I think. So it comes at a good time.
That's all of your headlines, brought to you by Arnold Clark.
Yeah, thanks to Patrick there for his headlines. And that brings us nicely to Celtic 5 points clear, along with the other top team there, Ruffy, the new kids on the block. Aberdeen 1, Ross County 0. I won't use the expletive that the Dons fans used, but I did think it was funny when I saw the the fans reacting with "F you Celtic, we're going to win the league." I thought, wow, they're on a high, Ruffy.
Yeah, I mean they've been looking for this kind of start for the last 2 or 3 seasons. You know, winning games is important to any supporter, but when you're winning all the time, you know, you can feel the momentum. And the thing I was pleased with the weekend was the crowds at the games. I thought every team's supporters are getting right. The stadiums look full.
Yeah.
There's no, empty spaces anywhere, particularly Aberdeen. You know, and I think that's good. And we spoke about it earlier with Rangers and Celtic fans being at the game. But I think the fans at these teams, the Motherwells, the Aberdeens, the Hibs, and that are turning up at games and making it exciting.
Kevin Nisbet scores in the 98th minute. And you know what was really funny about it? The Aberdeen fans have invaded the pitch as if it was a European tie and they've won the European Cup. It was mental. It was good fun.
No, I think, listen, it's a 5:45 kick-off as well. You need to remember on a Saturday. So I think the Aberdeen fans would have been up there having a few scoops before the game. I think they'd have been well oiled before the game kicked off. And just they've started so well, and it looked as if they were going to huff and puff and come away with a draw. But Kevin Nisbet does what Kevin Nisbet does. He's proven at this level. You know, he just hangs back, and lets the ball come to him, and he takes it lovely, side foot, didn't blast it, didn't try and murder it, and a lovely finish. And I liked the scenes at the end. I thought Aberdeen, they've got momentum behind them, huge support there. We spoke about their fixture list has been pretty kind, and I think they play before Rangers play next. I think they've got Motherwell at home, and if they win that, they go 8 points ahead of Rangers. So they started the season brilliant. I don't think they're going to win the league, but I think they'll.
Go on, say it.
No, when you look at Hibs and Hearts at the minute, the gap they've got, they're 10 or 12 points ahead of them at the minute. So they're going to be big favourites for third place already, Peter.
Oh, I thought it was split. I thought it was going to be
the ultimate.
No, I thought it was going to be.
You're not going for
October.
Absolutely.
Halloween, if they're still up there for Halloween, I'll say they're getting the third nailed on.
Yeah, no, we thought you were going to go for splitting the Old Firm line there. Too early for that for Tam. He'll save that for his daily record column and then change it the week after. Listen, I'm going to single out somebody for praise in the Aberdeen side, and it's Nicky Devlin. And the reason why I'm going to praise Nicky Devlin is he drives forward, he's fouled, he continues, he gets up, he doesn't look for the foul, he drives on him, finds the pass to Shayden Morris, he then gets into the box, the ball comes through, he dummies it, lets it go through his legs for Nisbet to finish. He obviously got the shout from Nisbet. That's desire, that's what we're talking about. If Kyogo runs 60 yards, there, everybody, spots his desire. Nicky Devlin's attitude there was, keep going, we're into the last minute, can we get the winner?
Yeah, and every team should have a Nicky Devlin. You know, he might not be the most gifted player in the team, but what he gives you, as you've said there, he gives you the determination to win. He looks as if he hates losing, really hates losing. You know, it was unfortunate, it was his hand at the penalty, even though that, he never even made an issue of it. He just dealt with it and got on with it. And I think it's been a great signing for him to go up there, because obviously they've been with the clubs that he's been at, and now he was there when Aberdeen were struggling a wee bit, and now he's there with a bit of success. So good luck to him.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a fabulous run. If they win the next game, they will match Fergie's 41-year record, Ali, of 10 wins in a row. Now, their overall record is 15 wins in a row. That was set by Eddie Turnbull in, I think, 1970. So, I mean, it's just a fabulous run. And we know the calibre of team that they've come up against, but your catchphrase, your word is momentum, Ali. That's your line.
Yeah, I think so. And again, tone, I just think it gives a change in atmosphere all around the club, from the dressing room into the supporters. You can sense the optimism, the enthusiasm. And I think what's really significant is the fact that Hearts and Hibs have toiled for a proper start. They've toiled for a good start. So Aberdeen have this fantastic daylight between themselves and teams that you would traditionally expect would be challenging them to go and get that third spot. And I think at this point in the season you can look and you can say, well, they're going to go into October and they have the first real test of the season. They've got a fairly harrowing calendar across October, where I'm sure it'll be put to the test, and you'll see just maybe where they are and what they've got. However, by that point, where they could be is already fairly significantly ahead of teams that are going to be challenging them for that third spot.
Yeah, Motherwell, then Spartans. That's 2 games at home coming up after the international break, Ruffy. And then it's Dundee away, Hearts at home, and then Celtic away at Celtic Park, and then they've got Dundee United and Rangers, and that's the end of October.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they'll be the games that Alison's talking about. The next 2 games, you would think, the way they're going just now, are winnable. So they've been there before, up there. How many years ago was it with Celtic, the first and second?
The Ronnie Dyler years.
Yeah, they were up there before. Have they got the players once they're up there? If they do, sort of I do what Tam's sort of a hinting at, get above Rangers. Have they got the players of the mentality who can stay in that second place?
Do you think so?
At this moment in time, yeah, until Rangers get their act together. But I do think Rangers will get their act together and will still be second.
Okay. Hearts 0, Dundee United 1. Dundee United certainly got their act together because Ross Graham's winner was a thing of beauty.
Yeah, fantastic start, given the fact that they've just come straight up. Again, yeah, I think unbeaten. They're also in the last 8 of the Premier Sports Cup. A fantastic start. I think maybe a bit fortuitous in moments in games where they've come away with points. But again, it's just so important, I think, when you come up and you're banking points and you're just steadying things, you get a really solid foundation to go and build on.
Yeah, and of course everybody here, you've mentioned it, when you have teams that suddenly have a great run, St Mirren, great support comes out for them. Dundee United have got a fabulous support. Aberdeen, suddenly winning games, they're all out there supporting them. If Hibs got their act together, this season, if we could see some better football, if we could see some clubs getting a bit of consistency, the bigger ones, you'll start to see a lot of fans. The biggest problem, I think, from this game is that Hearts haven't had a win this season. Stevie Naismith adamant he can still turn this around.
Oh, because if that time comes, that time will come. I think I've said before at the moment I feel that I don't think I can turn it around, I'll tell the club. It's not something that I'll be hanging on to if I do get to that point. As I said, there's been a decent turnover on players. They're a good group, they work well, but ultimately we need to show it on the pitch. We need to be a harder team to beat. We need to have more ruthless streak, and we need to have a bit of a swagger to say, no, we're going to give all we can and not fear about what might happen in the negative sense, because I feel we're doing that too much at the moment.
Okay, doesn't look good. No wins since the start of the season, and they need Celtic like a hole in the head after the international break.
Yeah, we've just seen what games they had after the break. They've got Celtic away and St Mirren away. They've got 2 really tough away games. I think Stevens is under a bit of pressure now. I think that it's not just the way they're losing games, it's the way they're losing games, Peter. They're not scoring goals at home. You know, against Pilsen they were poor. Again at the weekend didn't create a lot. Lawrence Shankland's goals have dried up. And it's not just the pre-season was poor as well. So a lot of Hearts supporters are on his back now, and he needs to start getting results. And the next 2 games are going to be tricky for him. You know, Celtic away, I don't see that Hearts getting a result there. The way Celtic are playing St Mirren away, a bit tough game as well.
Yeah, once the Hearts fans start to voice their displeasure, they get rid of Robbie Neilson eventually because the board eventually buckled on it.
Yeah, well, I don't know why the dissenting fans never brought into everything they done last year. You know, I thought they were a breath of fresh air last year, the way they were playing. Tam's touched on it. I think the biggest problem is Lawrence Shankland. Lawrence Shankland last year was pinnacle to everything they'd done, scoring fantastic goals, winning games for them. He's not turned up this year, not blaming him collectively. No, it's not, the rest of the team's got to take something out of that again. But
do you think he's been affected by all the talk?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely, I think they do. I think you do. I mean, it never happened to me, but I think there's certain players. Just get on with it. What do you do about it? But I think when you
I'm moving to him. I'll take that. Oh, Celtic are in for me. I'll take that on Friday. Ruffy.
No, I just think they're individuals. You know, I think as a player, you know, obviously the Rangers thing lurking a bit must have had some effect, because there must have been a wee bit of hint that might have happened. Obviously it didn't, so you've got to get your head round it. I know his contract's coming at the end of this season, isn't it?
I think he's still got another year left.
I think he's up till 2026.
Yeah. Well, he has to get his act together, you know, because he's just at this moment in time he's not the player he was last year.
No, I'm talking about. I thought you were talking about Naismith's contract. No, it's up.
No,
sorry,
Shankland's out of contract at the end of the season.
Shankland's out at the end of the season.
Well, he's obviously got his head round it, right? It never happened to me. I never got the Rangers move. I never got moved down south. I've got the end of the season. I'm still young enough to get something out of the game. So, but he still has to play for his teammates.
Yeah, absolutely. They're up against it. I don't like to see managers get the sack this early, and I just think, I know he's under pressure. I think he's got a couple of games that he has to get something, Ali.
Well, can I just say, when I was at Thistle, we had a couple of managers who went through a terrible time, and any board meeting we went to, we always looked at the fixture list and said, look, give the guy a break. These are the games coming up. So I think if you're a good board, you give him 4 or 5 games in the light of what happened last year. But as you're saying, the 4 or 5 games are pretty tough. I don't think you can just sack him just because of the first 4 or 5 games of the season.
Yeah, okay. I agree with you, Ruffy. I'm on that board because I think if we're looking at all the managers, they all need time to bed in with their squads. They need time to do something with it. And I think he's, out of all the managers, I think he's under the most pressure to be able to turn it around.
That's what happens when you're a success. Success sometimes goes against you.
Yeah, absolutely.
People judge you and
set a high bar last year.
You did last year and like what you're doing this year.
Yeah, but the fans don't remember. They only want the here and now. Dundee 2, St Mirren 2, and an absolute belter of a goal from Mondrian in that game. In fact, Olasanya's goal was good as well. It was a great game. Dundee and St Mirren have got 2 sets of fans who are just on a roller coaster and thoroughly enjoying it.
And 2 clubs who had particularly good campaigns last season. I think St Mirren maybe just toiled a bit in the opening weeks of this season, just trying to manage the demands of obviously competing in European qualifiers with domestic games. I think they'll kick on a wee bit now over the next few seasons. I think I've got loads of time for both managers. I think both are very good coaches. Both create teams that I think are greater than the sum of their parts, which I think is always a sign of a good manager.
Yeah, Tony Dock just got. I mean, he's lost Luke, McCowan, which is a blow to him, but he's got other players that have been able to step up to the plate as well. I mean, Larkesh got the equaliser. Curtis Mains, he knows all about this division.
Yeah, they've got goals in the team, Peter. I think they're scoring a lot of goals. I think the front three are excellent. Simon Murray's been a great signing for them. They've started the season really, really strongly. I think that a draw was probably a fair result. I think Simon Murray could have won at the end. He had a good chance at the end to win the game, but I think both teams will be reasonably happy with the draw. And obviously Kevin Van Veen coming into St Mirren is going to add competition for places in the forward areas as well for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And Stephen Robinson, well pleased to get Van Veen. He reckons it's a bargain.
I went to bed really early. I just left Keith to do it. So, no, I listen to credit to Keith Lasley and Lindsay for their hard work and trying to get Kevin over the line. It wasn't as straightforward as people think, and to Jim Gillespie for the deal that they done, because I believe we got Kev for an absolute bargain, and he'll come with a real point to prove and really motivate it, and we're delighted to have him on board. And when we're back in training again, then he'll be a big part of our going forward.
Have you been surprised by Motherwell, Ruffy? They defeated St Johnstone by 2-1.
Yeah, they're just getting the wee breaks at the right time, getting wins. And Allison's already touched it on momentum. He'll remember, and the players will remember the season when they weren't doing particularly well. So no, all credit to them. They lost a few players as well, but the players that have come in have stepped up. Obviously the striker, losing the strikers, has been a big hindrance, but no, they're doing well.
Yeah, St Johnstone, as ever, I always love Craig Levein in an after-match press conference, especially after a defeat.
If we were playing shit, I wouldn't mind so much, like go home thinking, well, we're just not very good. But that's not what I'm seeing on the training ground, and it's not what I'm seeing in long spells in games. And these things, I think last week we lost a set piece, and that's 2 again today.
Can't defend corners, Ali.
Yeah, I think I only saw highlights. I didn't see the full game, but actually, from what I saw, I thought Motherwell were pretty dominant in the game. And I will qualify that by saying I didn't watch the entirety of the game, so I'm happy to be corrected on that score. However, I think they really struggled last season. I thought they looked as though they had brought players in, they would maybe try and stable a bit. I think it could be another tough season for St Johnstone. I saw them last week up at Tannadice. And obviously he's without Adama Sidibe now for a month. He's not going to have him until October. Yeah, I think they need to start getting points. I think the last thing you want to happen is you get caught adrift, you get cast adrift, and you start to go into a spiral. I think they desperately need a couple of big performances now.
Yeah, okay, let's move on to Mr. Erratic here from last season. You were like a yo-yo last season, up and down, sack 'em and back 'em.
Nope.
Hibs won, Kilmarnock won, and this is what David Gray had to say after the draw.
When I take the 4 league games we've played, there has been progression there in all the games. Now I think you can clearly see a little bit of a lack of confidence in some players at the moment. I think the break comes at a really good time. With the new bodies coming in, time to gel, time to get new ideas into them, the squad starting to know each other a bit more. That's 11 signings, I think. So it comes at a good time. It would have been better, obviously, to go in with a win today, but there is positives to take from it.
Do you agree with him?
Yeah, I do, Peter. I watched the full game. I watched it after the Celtic game, and I thought Hibs deserved to win the game. I thought they created numerous chances. I thought they got their tactics bang on. They went 3 in the middle of the park. I thought Kwon, on loan from Celtic, was superb. I thought Triantis, playing him in the middle of the park, I thought he was excellent as well, along with Joe Newell. Kukurevich nearly scored the goal of the season. A great shot for the halfway line. The goalkeeper with a good save, and then Triantis. But you always feel that Hibs need a second goal. Even getting the last 5 minutes, I thought Kilmarnock were poor on the day. I don't think they created a couple of chances, but I thought Hibs were going to see it out. And then just a ball into the box, and Abita just cleans them out. It's a stonewall penalty kick, and they lose right to the death. They lose, but they've been a massive 3 points for the club. But I can see where Hibs are going. I think they're going to get better as the season goes on. He's got 11 players in, he needs to bed them in, and the international break's coming at the right time, Peter. He can get them in, he can get them training on the training ground, and they can. I think Hibs will be okay this season. I think they'll go up the table.
Yeah, Kenny wants to know if you think they'll be top 6.
Interesting one. I'm going to go yes. I think they might get into the top 6. Yeah, I'm going to be positive about Hibs. What I seen yesterday, I thought there's definitely progression. They're getting better. They've got some decent players, and I think they'll finish in the top 6.
Brilliant. There you are. Positivity from Tam. Ruffy, you'll remember this, but and some people of a certain generation who watch the programme, we've got the demographic of the programme is a lot of younger people because we're on YouTube, and then there's still that audience that we've retained over the 12 years who are of a certain generation. And what you used to do, Ruffy, in the cold mornings, I'm talking about poverty, Alice, not yourself and middle class Tam here. In the days of poverty, Ruffy, your mum used to get up with your dad, and they'd put any sticks of wood and a wee bit of coal that was left, and then they'd put a paper over the front of the fire so that you could the draft, and you could stoke the fire and get it going. And that's maybe what you and I will end up doing with Tam's column next week in the Daily Record once he changes
That was
his
a
mind
long
again.
way to get there.
I don't care. I don't give a hoot. It was a long way, Ali. It's just so I can get a done in him. What do you think, Ruffy?
Well,
I'm staying positive. I'm staying positive, Ruffy.
Positive now, positive this week, negative next.
No. I'm staying positive. Hibs have got a nice wee run of games coming up. They can pick up some points. I thought they deserved to win yesterday.
Yeah. Okay, there you are. Can't get
Happy that Vassell was modelling himself in your shot at the back post.
Well, he's set up.
Anyway, okay, here's the table. Here's how it all looks in the Scottish Premiership. And Celtic and Aberdeen, it's, well, at the moment it's a 2-horse race, but I think it's really a 1-horse race. For the rest of the season. You might disagree with that. Rangers 5 points behind. They don't want to see that after 4 games. At the other end of the table, Kilmarnock and Hearts, Ross County, Hibs, St Johnstone and St Mirren making up that bottom 6. What do you make of it after the 4 games? Ruffy, what's your overview? We haven't seen you in such a long time on the programme.
Yeah, well, when I got back, obviously I had to watch 2 weeks worth of stuff.
Yeah.
I'd left, for lunch. So I did
record it.
I did catch up on them all, but I think it's early. But I mean, the evidence is Celtic, the way they're playing, the speed they're playing it. They've got all the players back. Last year the only times they struggled was when Cameron Vickers was it, when McGregor was it, and when Maeda was it. And now they're all back, and they're all back with more in abundance on the bench. So at this moment in time, there's no evidence anybody else, at this moment, who are going to take them.
All right, Kaiser says Aberdeen are in it to win it, Peter. And do we take Kaiser out for a slap-up meal and a real bevy session if Aberdeen win the league?
We'll get Elon Musk to there's a rocket to Mars. No chance of that.
Okay. Sorry, Kaiser. Yeah, absolutely. We've got a couple
that positivity?
I know, a couple of things to get in before we say farewell to you. Kerry was out finding out what the Scotland camp were talking about ahead of 2 big Nations League matches.
International week is upon us once again as Scotland take on Poland this Thursday night here at the National Stadium in the Nations League. And after a disappointing exit to the Euros in the summer, John Carver insists that they are looking for some hidden gems to better the national team.
We've got an unbelievable group ahead of us, some fantastic games, and we've got the preparation for the World Cup, because the preparation for me now starts, which is why there'll be a few fresh faces in there, which is important. So, we've looked at every part of the world, part of the globe, to see which players could come in to take us forward. And let's not forget, Scotland were in the doldrums 23 years ago, and now we've qualified for 2 back-to-back Euros.
Scotland veteran John McGinn admits that they have to put the heartache from the tournament behind them, but knows it's something that won't leave him anytime soon.
I think you definitely don't part them. I still think about getting relegated with St Mirren, what I could have changed, what you could do better. These things never leave you. Everyone always says the highs in football make the lows worth it, but they're lying. So it'll always be in the back of your head things you could have done differently, both together as a team and individually. So we kind of changed that now. It's about looking forward, trying to. So basically, it's unfair on the new players coming into the squad. Obviously, Ben was in the squad before the summer. He wasn't involved in that. So why does it need to be doom and gloom with him in the squad? We need to try and use that to make us better, but also try and bring a freshness and a little bit more positivity with the new guys coming into the squad.
Scotland get their Nations League campaign kicked off this Thursday night here at Hampden. Kick-off is at 7:45.
Yeah, it's Poland and then Portugal away, Tam. We offered our criticism of Scotland's performances in European Championships because I think it was deserving of criticism, what we watched. Now, he's got 2 years left in his contract. There's a job to do. Should we take into consideration what John Carver's just said?
Yeah, I think you do. I think that just getting there is great, but I think the way we started the group, beating Spain, who eventually went on and won it, Peter, I think you're expecting to make more of an impression in the tournament. I think we expected more in Germany, and we expected Scotland to go and maybe qualify from that group. They didn't do that. They've got a tough game. I think Poland. I thought Poland were disappointing as well in the Euros. Lewandowski obviously is a top class, world class striker. I think if you keep him quiet, I don't think Poland have got an awful lot. Portugal away is going to be really tough for me. I think they're excellent, but listen, if you can take 4 points from those two games, then it puts you in a good position.
Okay, just before we go, here's the English Premier League and the results. And the pick of them all has to be that game at Old Trafford, Ruffy. Manchester United 0, Liverpool 3. What a huge statement that was. I said it would happen last week. Tam didn't believe me, but it did.
Yeah, it certainly did. And I think everybody that, if you're a Man United supporter, you'll be wondering why this man hanged on to his job. I think they were all wanting a bit of change, and everybody was going with Liverpool losing their manager. A lot of good players left, but they've still got quality in Salah.
Yeah, here's what the two managers made of the result.
At this moment, he's one of ours, and I'm really, really happy with him being one of ours, and he plays really well. So I don't talk about contracts from players, but I can talk for hours about how Mo played today. But are you interested in that? So he was impressive, like the first two games as well. But if we talk about an individual, you don't do justice to all the other ones, because I think today you saw a real good team performance.
We have to build him in the team, and it will take time. And so it's not like I'm Harry Potter, and that is what you have to acknowledge. And if you see Manuel Ugarte, he didn't play so far in the season, not one match minute. And so, yeah, he need to build his fitness state.
Well, I have to say, Alison, obviously Arne Slot talking about Mo Salah, who said this is going to be his last year at Liverpool, so he's well used to scoring at Old Trafford. But the other man there, Erik ten Hag, I think he could be dead man walking very shortly.
Yeah, I think the pressure on him will be significant when you can factor in last season as well, and then he's given the opportunity to go again. I think, I think there'll be big question marks over him.
Yeah,
especially saying he's not Harry Potter.
Yeah,
I think there's a few Man United fans who want to kick him in the Philosopher's Stones.
I mean, that's probably.
I heard that one today. I've stole that for somebody.
Did you steal that from somebody?
I heard it.
I cannot believe you've been guilty of plagiarism. Honestly, that is outrageous, because that was your best. I was just about to say, Ruffy, that's one of his best, isn't it?
Well, I hope there's a lot of people watched the Harry Potter stuff, because I haven't a clue what he's talking.
Well done, Ruffy. If it's not Game of Thrones, he's not interested. Tam, I can't believe you've been guilty of stealing a line from somewhere. Anyway, give us your thoughts. Hit the subscribe button on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. We'd love you to join our football family. If you download the app, you will have all the breaking news at your fingertips as well. Thanks to Ali, thanks to Ruffy, who's back with us for the next couple of weeks until something else pops up. Have you any more? Is it a five programme deal with Frank on Let Me Be Frank, or are you back with us?
No, I think I boosted these numbers up enough, so.
And thanks to Tam McManus, from myself, Peter Martin. Thanks to you for listening and watching.